Suspended national chairman of the NPP, Paul Afoko, may be heading to court for redress, says his spokesperson.
Electoral Commission sets up a 5-member committee to supervise the public hearing of issues raised over the voters' register.
You're live on GBC 24 and GTV. This is News Hour. My name is Shirley Annan.
And I'm Conrad Kakraba. The suspended national chairman of the NPP, Mr. Paul Afoko, may be heading to court for redress. A statement signed by the spokesperson for Mr. Afoko, Nanaya Osei, said the decision by the National Executive Committee is not binding on him.
The statement said the improperly constituted National Disciplinary Committee cannot recommend any indefinite suspension of Mr. Afoko to the National Executive Committee, whose chairman did not call the meeting that purportedly endorsed the so-called decision of the National Disciplinary Committee. Nanaya Osei said the disciplinary committee failed to get back to lawyers of Mr. Paul Afoko after he raised issues with the processes leading to the presentation of the petition and handling by the committee.
The Electoral Commission has set up a 5-member committee to supervise the public hearing of issues raised over the voters' register. A statement signed by the Acting Director of Public Affairs at the EC, Mr. Christian Owusu-Parry, named the 5 members as Professor V.C.R.A.C. Crab, co-chair of CODIO, also a former Supreme Court judge and electoral commissioner. Then, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, former presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana and chairman of the National Peace Council. Then, Dr. Grace Bediako, a former government statistician, Dr. Ni Naku Kweno, a renowned computer scientist, and Maulvi bin Saleh, Amir of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission of Ghana.
The statement said the public hearing has become necessary following petitions and calls from some political parties, civil society groups, and a number of Ghanaians for a new voters register, while others have called for an audit of the voters register, all with a view to ensuring a credible voters register for 2016 and beyond. The statement said in order to ensure a transparent and accountable process for examining and determining the petitions, the panel of 5 will conduct the hearings in a free, transparent, fair and objective manner. The hearings will also be broadcast live on radio, television and on the internet for the benefit of Ghanaians who cannot attend but wish to follow the proceedings.
Today, the 24th of October 2015, is 70 years since the United Nations came into being. On Saturday morning in Accra, the platinum anniversary was commemorated with a flag-raising ceremony at the forecourt of the State House. The UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Christine Evans-Clark, was grateful to Ghana for providing the staging ground for humanitarian and medical response to the Ebola outbreak in the 3 West African countries. She reminded, though, that it is important for Ghana to use lessons drawn to redouble her efforts to attain the Sustainable Development Goals.
7 decades after its founding, the United Nations has grown from a membership of 51 to 193 member states. The UN works for the entire humanity in the areas of feeding the hungry, sending peacekeepers to the front line of conflicts, vaccinating children from preventable diseases, and defending human rights for all. With the theme Strong UN, Better World, the UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Christine Evans-Clark, said the United Nations has made remarkable progress to preserve peace, promote human development and safeguard human rights all over the world, and they are proud to have Ghana as the first to meet the targets to cut extreme poverty in half ahead of the 2015 MDGs.
We are proud to celebrate Ghana's success in having met the Millennium Development Goal to cut extreme poverty in half, that it did so ahead of the 2015 target date, and that it was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to do so. Today is also an appropriate moment to thank the some 800 Ghanaian and international staff serving the United Nations in this country, in Accra, in Tamale, and elsewhere.
Foreign Minister Ms. Hannah Tete said although Ghana has made considerable contributions to the UN, there is still a lot to be done by other countries for a collective effort to deal with the many challenges that the world faces today. She encouraged individuals to help build a stronger UN body.
We would of course acknowledge that the world is still faced with significant threats to peace, security and stability. But indeed we have shown that when we come together to address our mutual challenges, we are able to deal with them. Ghana has over the last 50 years maintained an enviable record of being among the first 10 contributing nations of both military and police personnel to the United Nations peacekeeping operations in different theaters of conflict across the world.
Traditional leaders, students and security agencies were part of the ceremony.
Participants at the 7th public hearing and meeting of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee PIAC on the management of petroleum revenues are suggesting that the oil revenue be used for major projects that Ghanaians can relate to. They say such funds should be used to continue small projects never seem to reach completion. Others were also of the view that projects undertaken by the oil revenue must clearly be identified as such.
The meeting discussed the Public Interest and Accountability Committee report PIAC for the year 2014. The chairman of PIAC, Professor Bua Besua, mentioned that as at the end of 2014, nearly $3 billion was accrued to the state as petroleum revenue since production of first oil in 2010. He outlined some of their findings as contained in the report.
Our main purpose is to monitor the use of oil, and then also, importantly, to provide a platform for the public to debate whether government spending is in line with the provisions of the Revenue Management Act.
Participants at the forum did not seem to be clear about what the oil revenue was being used for. They questioned whether 20 years after the production of oil, Ghana can point to a major project undertaken with the proceeds. Some also called for labeling of projects undertaken with the oil money for easy identification. It was then revealed that part of the revenue is being used to fund the ongoing construction of the Esuasia-Otuam Road, the Elmina Steel Bridge in front of the castle, the Kwapro Ankafu Bridge, the Anamabu Fisheries College, among others. Some participants shared their opinions on the report and questioned the independence of PIAC since they are not able to collect the data on their own but depend on other data. The perception of the average person is that the bright lights of the city amount to good life filled with great opportunities. But life in the city can sometimes be rough and bumpy if one does not possess the means to survive. In our next story, GBC 24's Gifty Ajay brings to the fore the plight of one such family.
Like other major cities of the world, Accra on daily basis receives hundreds of migrants whose hope is to find better living conditions by coming here. We meet 42-year-old Mary Ba, popularly called Yaba, one of such persons who came to Accra as a young, energetic lady in 2008 with a 5-year-old daughter. She had a lot of hope for the future.
I regret coming to Accra, but I cannot go home now.
7 years on, Yaba now has 7 children, the girl and 6 more boys. This is where they call home, a place they are squatting without the knowledge of the owner. This uncompleted structure does not have toilet, electricity or potable water. In fact, there is no roof, windows and doors. Yaba used to live here with her husband, but he has recently been arrested for defiling his stepdaughter, Yaba's only daughter, who is now 13 years.
My mother became sick and went on admission. My father then asked me to sleep in his room. This is why he defiled me and warned me not to tell my mother. Without a permanent job, Yaba depends on income from menial jobs and handouts from neighbors, which in most cases are inadequate. The previous day, Yaba went to wash for a client and was paid 5 Ghana cedis, her income for the whole day. It is 11 a.m. the next morning, and Yaba is sending her daughter to purchase foodstuffs, and this is going to be their only meal for the day. Her income from the washing yesterday was not enough for fish, so her 5 boys will have to go fishing in a nearby stream to catch the necessary protein for their meal. Their fishing net is this worn-out mosquito net they sleep in at night.
The rains have made it difficult to catch fish today.
The only thing we are afraid of when fishing are the leeches that bite us. Those leeches are deadly.
As often as is the case, anytime the children fall sick, Yaba goes into the bush to pick some plants. She calls herbs to prepare concoctions for medicine. Her 4th child is today complaining of stomachache, and so we are accompanying Yaba to find some herbs as medicine for him.
I grind and drink. When I feel dizzy, these are the herbs I drink. I use this to cure stomach aches.
Anytime I say, Mama, Kuala so I know be send your bear. You're be bound to me there. A home moccasin.
All Yaba's children are out of school, and the mother of 7 is worried.
I
cannot abandon my children, so I'm pleading with all of you to help us.
But even in their depravity, these children have dreams.
I want to build an aeroplane.
Bank manager. I want to work at the bank.
When I grow up, I want to help orphans.
As is the case all the time, no matter how hard society may try, there will always be those who fall through the cracks. Right here in the capital Accra, we are faced with a clear example of what abject poverty could mean. What is left to be done is for the social welfare system to quickly look out for such cases and help them out.
Poverty, they say, is a disease. However, Yaba and her 7 children could be cured of this cancer if individuals and organizations could come to their rescue. Reporting for GBC 24, Gifty Ajay, Accra.
A senior statesman and retired diplomat, Mr. KB Asante, has called for an inclusive system of governance for Ghana. He said building a better Ghana requires the assembling of a wide range of ideas from experts from various socio-political backgrounds. Mr. KB Asante was speaking at the last of the Kwame Nkrumah lecture series at the University of Cape Coast in the Central Region.
The forum attracted a large number of personalities from academia, civil society and traditional council, among others, Speaking on the topic, independence and its great expectations, loss of self-esteem and self-reliance, the future depends on Ghanaians, Mr. K.B. Asante noted that although slavery has been abolished many years ago, the black man is still suffering from some form of mental slavery, which needs urgent attention. He said Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, strongly promoted self-reliance and maintained that the African is capable of managing his own affairs.
The failings in the education program at independence are still with us, and we have to correct them. We have to resolve the resulting problems, not by blaming Nkrumah says, but by thinking and embracing new ideas which suit the existing situation in Ghana. Ghana certainly cannot waste time in pointless arguments in the name of democracy and free speech.
Mr. K.B. Asante reiterated the need for all and sundry to get involved in the governance discourse to help build a strong and better country. He said if experts are drawn from all political angles, corruption and other nefarious activities will reduce. As part of the lecture series, 3 distinguished personalities, Mr. K.B. Asante, the Minister for Education, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and an alumnus of the university who is also a banker, Mr. Joseph Okaing Afrani, were conferred with honorary doctorate degrees for their meritorious services in promoting education and social well-being of Ghanaians. Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman thanked the University of Cape Coast for the honor done them. She said Africa is a continent of hope and that with discipline and commitment, the founding fathers' dream of Africa overcoming poverty and hunger and making strides will be realized.
The Story of Our Lives project, an initiative of former President Kufuor's physician, Dr. Ama Bohene Anda, has so far been to 6 out of the 10 regions of the country. The project seeks to encourage female students to focus and strive to achieve their vision and to buttress the fact that hard work, determination and dedication yield positive results.
This style of mentoring is practical, graphic, and takes the form of a heart-to-heart chat between successful young professional women and their young friends to drum home the fact that through all the challenges they encountered as young adolescent females, they have made strides in their fields of endeavor. It also seeks to establish the fact that, contrary to some societal views, females can succeed without sacrificing their morality and virtues. The foundation is collaborating with the Girl Child Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service to run the project. Dr. Bettina Ama Bohene Anda, founder of the foundation, says she and other successful young female professionals are touring the country to share their unedited life stories as a practical way of mentoring girls at senior high schools level.
Our successes are obvious, but our challenges are hidden. And therefore, if I tell you that Mrs. Elizabeth Irene Beatty is the CEO of Patholab Solutions, which is a very reputable lab in Accra, it is obvious that she's successful. But if she doesn't share her challenges with you, you wouldn't know. And you would wonder how she got there.
The project is targeting 200 girls from selected senior high schools in every region of the country who will, in turn, propagate the information to their peers.
Halfway through the course, 3 people were dismissed. I thought, oh my God, I'm dead, I'm gone. Because that was how intensive the course was. I sat up for 2 weeks continuously. Now I couldn't shut my eyes to sleep because sleep won't come.
You realize during exams, sometimes it's not time for the period. You are sitting there, no, you realize something is coming. Hey, but it's not time yet. Therefore, the brain, the way you are thinking, has a great effect on your menstrual flow.
So far, the Story of Our Lives project has been to the Greater Accra, Volta, Eastern, Ashanti, Central and Western regions.
They've really encouraged me and about how to use my time and how to catch up with my colleagues who are, in terms of academics, ahead of me.
And I also learned that I shouldn't let things surrounding me deter me from achieving my success. I should stay focused, be prayerful, and God is seeing me through.
It is hoped that the girls would be focused to attain high positions in life.
The Greater Accra Regional Police Command has arrested Osman Razak, a trench digger, for allegedly stealing cables suspected to belong to the Electricity Company of Ghana and some telecommunication networks. This has affected about 20 electricity poles on the Accra-Tema motorway.
The suspect, Osman Razak, who is 28 years and a trench digger by profession, was arrested at about 4 a.m. on 21st October 2015 whilst digging under one of the electricity poles on the Temamoto Highway. When a search was immediately conducted on him, the police retrieved a shovel, mattock and a pickaxe.
Police for some time now has observed the rampant stealing and destruction of electricity and telephone cables in the Accra metropolis by unidentified persons. Hence, the Regional Police Command intensified day and night patrols and paid extra vigilance to streamline strategies to curtail this menace.
However, the suspect claims he was employed by a foreman named Kobe to do the digging work for one of the telecommunications.
There is some man who sent me here that we used to call them foreman. So his name is Kobe. He gave me the job here to come and dig that we are coming to lay some cable here. So always if I can't hear, even the people around, they meet me, they ask me. I used to tell them that it's the distance that I'm coming to do, the trench work that I'm doing. That's the work I'm doing.
The news team also gathered from passers-by and neighbors that Osman has been seen on several occasions digging trenches. However, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, is yet to be informed to estimate the damage caused. Meanwhile, investigation is still in progress. The suspect, Osman Razak, will be arraigned before court.
Ivory Coast would hold its first presidential elections since the country's second civil war, which was triggered by electoral dispute 5 years ago. The war left some 3,000 people dead and at least 500,000 others displaced. And though the West African neighbor has seen some stability and economic revival under incumbent President Alassane Ouattara, the threat of post-election violence looms in the face of complaints of economic inequality and political witch hunting. Sunday's elections will be a major test for Ivory Coast's democracy, with a burden on the ultimate winner to spread economic prosperity across the country, rebuild and then also help the country to regain its former status as the world's top cocoa producer. And Ivorians living in Ghana are expected to vote in the general elections on Sunday. And ahead of the polls, we have on the line Mr. Patrick Bresse of the Ghana Immigration Service, a sector commander for Sampa, one of the border towns in the Bonahafo region, to give us an update on what is happening at the border. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Right, so the border has been closed. What's the situation now?
Yeah, the border has not been closed. The Ivorian side has not been closed. We monitored up to 6 o'clock. It has not been closed. And we are not sure if it will close tomorrow. But the situation here in Sampa and across the border, the Ivorian side, is nothing different from normal. We've been talking to commuters. They've been going about their normal duties without any fear or any anxiety. It's like nothing extraordinary is happening across the border in Côte d'Ivoire. So from our position here in Sampa, everything is calm. They are ready for the election tomorrow, and there's nothing extraordinarily, from our point here in Sampa. Everything is just normal.
But what about the security situation?
Yes, we are. The first village across the border is called Soko. We've been monitoring Soko, and the security situation is just normal. Like the same border operatives there remain the same. However, Bunduku, which is the regional capital, it's about 10 minutes drive from here. We are aware the military population has gone up there. And we are also aware the military have been deployed along the Ghanaian border and the Burkinabe border.
Okay.
For obvious reasons. But they are not visible on the main roads, When you travel from Sampa to Bunduku, you won't see military men, but we are aware they have been deployed along the border. So everything is going on normal here. Yeah.
Okay, so we have some Ghanaians some Ivorians in Ghana who will be going to Ivory Coast tomorrow to vote, don't we?
Yes, that's right.
And
we have a lot of,
Yeah, but now we don't see them moving into the other side of the border.
Ivorians have moved across the border into Ghana. Ghanaians have moved. The situation has been normal.
Okay.
The commuters have commuted both sides every day. Yeah. And I'm aware some Ivorians who are locally residents will be going across the border to vote.
Okay.
Actually, there's sort of euphoria you see in election in Ghana. It's not felt from our position in Sampa.
Okay.
And when you go to Ksoko, it's the same. Everything is like low profile, But there's election tomorrow.
All right.
So everything is normal here. Everything is fine. Everything is peaceful here.
Thank you so much, sir. That's Mr. Patrick Bresse of the Ghana Immigration Service. He's a sector commander for Sampa, one of the border towns in the Bono Ahafo region, and he's been telling us about what's happening around the border. He says everything is calm ahead of the polls in Ivory Coast tomorrow. This is News Hour on GBC 24 and GTV. We'll be back with more stories. In the 2015 financial year, the University of Ghana Cooperative Credit Union posted after-tax a surplus of 3,288,221.93 Ghana cedis as against 1,980,487.13 Ghana cedis in the 2014 financial year. The board also delivered 0.03 as a dividend per every one Ghana cedi share to be shared to the shareholders.
The University of Ghana Cooperative Credit Union has been in existence since 1971 and has over 5,000 members. These members are drawn from corporate organizations and private universities. The union provides not just products and services to satisfy its members, but also social amenities in its catchment area. The total income of the union grew to over 2 million Ghana cedis in 2015, representing 46.36%. Interest on members' savings amounted to over 4 million Ghana cedis compared to over 3 million Ghana cedis paid at the end of June 2014. This represented an average of 4.0% per quarter on the minimum quarterly balance. The chairman of the University of Ghana Cooperative Credit Union, Dr. Jonathan Anaglo, indicated that Ghana's economy in the financial year under review was plagued by instability.
The economic variables that were to enhance our business were unfavorable. For example, inflation was as high as 17% in 2015. The 91-day Treasury bill rate increased from 24.09 to 25.85 in June. The 182-day TB also increased from 21.28 in June 2014 to 25.28 in June 2015.
The treasurer of the University of Ghana Cooperatives Credit Union, Mr. Dominic Ejaitre, presented the union's budget for 2016.
Interest on financial investment, we are projecting 1,832,147.95 Ghana pesos, and interest on share investment, we are projecting 264,864.24 Ghana pesos.
Its manager, Mr. Francis Fiaiya, said the union continues in its tradition of paying high interest on members' savings.
Last year,
that is June 2014, we had a total provision of 213,000 as against 160,000 this financial year, even though the loans went up. The union explored and utilized all strategies in deposit mobilization to drive to improve performance. Member savings and shares increased by 30% and 27% respectively, while the KD account went up by 490%.
The meeting was graced by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana.
We take a quick break. We'll be back with My Journey.
My Journey, a reporter's diary of events from across the country, showing every Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. only on GBC 24.
Good evening and welcome to the My Journey segment of the news. I am Beryl Ado. For Christian pilgrims, being baptized in the Jordan River has mythical proportions. Biblical writings show it was in this very river that John the Baptist baptized Jesus. Now known as the Yardenate Baptismal Site, it is an important destination for many pilgrims. Annually, an estimated 100,000 Christian worshippers make a pilgrimage to this holy area in Israel, and one of their most sacred rituals is to be immersed in the Jordan where the Messiah was baptized. I was fortunate enough to see this landmark for myself and share my part of the journey with you. Baptism is a religious rite in the Christian church and is part of the great commissions that Jesus gave to his followers. In the Gospels, Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River by John the Baptist, now known as the baptismal site of Yardenate. Though not the actual site of Jesus' baptism, it is the most popular landmark on the Jordan River for baptism. For centuries, pilgrims have traveled long distances to immerse themselves in the river to follow in the footsteps of Christ. They believe that John's baptism of Jesus forms a seminal moment in the life of Christ and marks a defining event in the Christian church. There is also the belief that the baptism also altered the spiritual status of the Jordan River. For Christian believers, it is not about the actual place of baptism, but the fact that Christ's body came in contact with the river. At Yardenate, pilgrims who wish to be baptized or immersed in the Jordan are made to dress in special white robes and await their turn. I took the opportunity to renew my faith in God. Together with the others, we recited prayers as we waited to be baptized. One at a time, each of us got immersed in the river. Some rebaptized Christians shared their reasons for choosing to be baptized again.
This is almost a new life. You know, I'm an Orthodox Christian. I'm baptized in my country in Ethiopia, but our Lord Christ baptized here by John. So this is something special to human being.
The most prominent feature at Yardenate aside the River Jordan is a wall of new life. On these stone slabs are the verse from Mark which describes the baptism of Jesus. It begins at the entrance and continues all the way to the baptism pool in multiple translations which include languages like Ga, Akan, Ewe, and Hausa. Another significant holy site I visited was the Sea of Galilee. This is the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus actually made his last appearance to his disciples after his resurrection. The disciples had gone fishing, but they could not locate any fish. He then asked them to cast their nets on the right side of the boats. They were able to have enough. According to scriptures, this is where Jesus performed his last miracles after his resurrection. Most of Jesus' earthly ministry centered around this sea. It is also by this sea that he called some of his disciples and promised to make them fishers of men. The scriptures also tell us that Jesus walked on the sea. For us, it was a miracle to actually be at a place where Jesus walked many millennia ago. The Jordan River is a symbol of freedom, deliverance, and even judgment and death. In the 18th century, Charles Wesley wrote a spiritual about the Jordan River, which became popular with slaves in the United States in the 19th century. This was a coded message for escape. For me, coming all the way from Ghana to take a dip in the River Jordan was humbling and signified a beginning. Never had I thought I would be at such a landmark place in the scripture. Same time next week is another day on my journey.
You're welcome back. In international news, Israelis continue to flee from their homes for fear of being killed by rockets from the Gaza Strip. One such community threatened by the Gaza-Israel conflict is Netiv Hazara, a village in the southern Israel that shares border with the Gaza Strip. For 15 years, civilians, including women and children, have borne the brunt of the conflict. GBC 24 visited the village and reports that there are bomb shelters everywhere, including children's playground. Children in the village are unable to play outside for fear of being hit by the rockets, which go off every 10 or 15 seconds.
Given the severity of the threat to Israel's civilian population, Israel has invested resources to develop civil defense systems such as early warning systems, bomb shelters and sirens. However, for residents of Netiv Hazara, a village close to the Gaza Strip, these measures are not enough to protect them from the Gaza Strip. This is the wall that separates Gaza from Israel, as well as residents of Netiv Hazara from threats from Palestinians within the Gaza Strip. The three huge concrete defense walls were constructed by Israel in 1994. It is 10 to 11 kilometers long and extends 18 kilometers below the surface. An electric fence have also been erected to stop infiltration attempts from Gaza. Netiv Hazara is the closest community in Israel to the Gaza Strip. The village has been struck repeatedly over the years. Hila Felon has been living in this village for the past 15 years. She says she has been living in constant fear as she struggles to raise her 15-year-old son. Hila says the conflict has restricted their movement in the village as they get to witness about 6 rockets from the Gaza Strip within a day. This is the community's bus stop, where students await to board a bus to school. Close to the bus stop is a bomb shelter. When a rocket is fired, one has about 10 seconds to run into the shelter to avoid being hit. Most homes have been rendered uninhabitable. Children in this community cannot play outside like other kids do. They are forced to stay indoors. But Hila Felon's worry is the psychological effect of the conflict on the lives of her son and the over 200 children in the community.
I've been raising my son, my 2 kids, under rockets all their life. This is the only life they know. They know that you go out to the street and you have to worry about rockets. They know that when you go to ride your bicycle, you have to worry about rockets. They know when they go to sleep at night, they can't be safe because rocket might fall on their head.
Samarat Zamir is also a teacher and resident in Netiv Hazara. She is leading a campaign across the border strip called the Path to Peace. She hopes to prevent further attacks on the village. For a little fee, visitors can glue ceramic figures on a wall under a dove of peace. She took the news team round on a tour of a decorated separation barrier. There is also a guard tower that has the military at post for constant surveillance. The journalists on the strip contributed to the Path to Peace by pasting their ceramic figures on the peace wall with the hope that peace will indeed come to the land of Israel.
We have sports coming up. Please stay with us.
Sports news, the Ghana Fire Service basketball team are through to the next stage of the ongoing Greater Accra basketball playoffs. They beat their counterparts from the Ghana Prison Service by 81 points against 69.
The Lebanon House at Tudu in Accra was the venue for the Greater Accra Basketball League playoffs. Fire servicemen in the yellow and red jersey welcomed the Ghana Prison Service. The encounter was full of action as there was almost no dull moment in the encounter. Both sides displayed sheer stamina and speed and great techniques to the admiration of the fans. end of the encounter, Fire Service carried the day with 81 points against 69. Here are reactions from the coaches.
Now, I could say we'll go and fight for first and second place now, as we beat them now. As at now, the sky is our limit now. No size now.
Not that they were too much, but I would say officiating didn't go well with me. Yeah, it seems everything I do, they see it. But what my opponents do, they don't see it. And I don't know why. This we're using 3-man officiating. But today, I've seen the worst 3-man officiating so far. I thought it would be better, but no way.
The league continues at the same venue next week.
Vodafone Ghana has held its version of the Business Fusion, which is in line with activities marking Vodafone Group's Global Wellbeing Month. It had the theme, Getting Your Heart Healthy for Longer Life, the Vodafone Way.
Staff of Vodafone Ghana on Friday, October 23, converged at the Leisure Center at Burma Camp for some sporting activities. Dubbed Business Fusion 2015, the day was to mark Vodafone Group's Global Wellbeing Month. It had the theme, Getting Your Heart Healthy for Longer Life, the Vodafone Way. Activities included a health walk, group aerobics, salsa, volleyball, basketball, football, and swimming. The HR Director of Vodafone Ghana, Stella Jenim Boateng, explains more.
The month of October is called the Wellbeing Month. And during the Wellbeing Month, every market, so every country where Vodafone is found, you are supposed to go through what we call Wellbeing Challenge. And so you create activities and then you compete among yourselves. And at the end of the day, we see which country actually topped in terms of which is the fittest OPCO, as we call it. Last year when we had that activity, so it was introduced 2 years ago. The first year, which was 2 years ago, Ghana came third across Vodafone in the world. Last year, Ghana was first. And this year is the Wellbeing Month, Challenge Month again. And Ghana is poised to continue to maintain the first position. So we are also undergoing a lot of activities. We are, doing a lot of stuff to make sure that we actually maintain our position as #1 in the Wellbeing Challenge.
Other activities included musical chairs, charade, and dance competition.
Well, so this is how we end our bulletin of news, which came to you live from Broadcasting House in Accra. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening.
Good evening.